algebra is when we use a letter of the alphabet to represent a number that we don't yet know. These letters are called variables. An example would be that if we don't know how old a person is, we can represent their age by using the variable letter A. We can use these variables in calculations as you would numbers. So if A is the age of a person now, in 2 years' time, their age would be A plus 2. Using algebra to describe something is called an expression. The letters and numbers we put together to make an expression are called terms. In the expression A plus 2, there are 2 terms. A is one and add 2 is the other. The addition and subtraction signs in front of each number or letter are part of that term. Here is another example of an algebraic expression. The number of people at a party is represented by the variable d. At 10 o'clock, 4 people leave the party. We can represent the number of people at the party at 10 o'clock with the expression d subtract 4. Have a go at writing this algebraic expression. The number of students that were in a class yesterday is represented by the variable c. Today, 3 more students joined the class. Write down the expression for the number of students in the class today. Pause while you think about the answer. Here is the answer. Here is another expression for you to try. We don't know how tall Ben is, but we can represent his height with the variable letter B. We know that Jack is 2 centimeters shorter than Ben. Write down the expression for Jack's height. Pause while you find the answer. Here is the answer. When using division in algebra, rather than using the division sign, we write the expression as a fraction, with one term over the term it is being divided by. For example, v divided by 2 would be written as v over 2. So if the number of sweets in a bag is represented by the variable s, and the sweets were then shared amongst a number of people known as t, the amount of sweets they would each get is s divided by t, which we would write as s over t. Write out these expressions as fractions. Pause while you find the answers. Here are the answers. Expressions using multiplication can also be written using a different format to normal calculations. For example, if F is the price of a chocolate bar and you buy 4 chocolate bars, then the total amount you would be paying is F plus F plus F plus F, which is 4 multiplied by f. However, in algebra, we would leave out the multiplication sign and write 4f. One thing to note is that you will always put the number first. So for example, you would never write f4, but always 4f with the number in front. Numbers written next to letters in this way are known as coefficients. Another example of this would be j plus j plus j. Here we have 3 multiplied by j, which is 3j. Sometimes you might multiply one variable by another variable. So if you had the expression c multiplied by d, you would write this as cd. Have a go yourself. Write each of these expressions using the correct algebraic notation. Pause while you think about the answers. Here are the answers. If you multiply a number by itself, you would get that number squared, such as 2 multiplied by 2 is 2 squared. The same is true using variables. So a multiplied by a is a squared. This would also work for cube numbers and even higher powers. So a multiplied by a multiplied by a is a cubed, and a multiplied by a multiplied by a multiplied by a would be a to the power of 4. Write down these expressions as the correct powers. Pause while you look for the answers. Here are the answers. Variables with powers can also be multiplied by numbers, such as 3 multiplied by y squared. Again, when multiplying in algebra, we leave out the multiplication sign and write 3y squared. Remember that when multiplying a variable by numbers, the number always goes in front. We can also multiply variables with powers by another variable. For example, y squared multiplied by z would be written as y squared z. Another example of this would be if we had d multiplied by d multiplied by e. Here we can see that we have 2 d's multiplied together. A d multiplied by itself is d squared. Then this has been multiplied by e, so we have d squared e. As all of these variables are multiplied together, you would get the same answer even if the variables were written in a different order. Have a go at writing these expressions using the correct algebraic form. Pause while you find the answers. Here are the answers. In algebra, one of the most common letters used as a variable is x. But so that the variable x is not confused with the multiplication sign, we write the letter x in the Latin way, which is like having two letter C's back to back. Here is a summary on what we have learnt about algebra. Algebra is where we use letters to represent numbers that we don't yet know. We call these variables. Using variables to describe a situation is called an expression. Expressions are made up of terms, which are numbers and letters and include the operation signs in front of them. When an expression includes division, it is written as a fraction with one term over another. When an expression includes multiplication, we connect the two terms together rather than use the multiplication sign. If we are multiplying a variable by a number, the number is called a coefficient, and we write these in front. Just like numbers, variables can be squared or cubed when multiplied by themselves.